I'm just going to chill for a few minutes. Wait for at least one person to come in. Just one. That's all I need. Most of the time, I'll be talking and won't nobody be here. But it's okay. Y'all catch it on the replay. It is a nice, sunny, comfortable day down here in Georgia. And I came by to tell you to join me tonight, somewhere around the 9 o'clock hour. We are going to talk about, hello, one person. Please feel free to come in the chat and say hello. We are going to talk about the bombshell news that broke 2 days ago concerning the Long Island serial killer, the Gilgo Beach killer, Rex Heuermann. Some serious stuff went down. I have affidavits to read to you. And we are going to play Connect the Fucking Dots. It might take me about 2 hours to do it, but we are going to connect the dots thus far. I don't know who all of you out there who are subscribed to my channel, hello, 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 have been following this case, but it is getting very, very, very interesting, to the point where I'm beginning to believe that out there in Suffolk County, that there is a ring of prominent white men involved in some freaky deaky shit, from detectives to police commissioners of past. I'm not talking about the latest ones that are in place now. A whole bunch of stuff that I want to share with you. Yeah. And to tell you the truth, this had been suspected way back in 2010 when the case first broke. People had been opining about there being a ring, a sex ring. And it was a theory, of course, but not too much information or supporting evidence to keep running with that theory. But now, that supporting evidence that was so desired and so needed, that has like a somewhat of a foundation to hold that theory up, is now being brought to the surface. I'd like to go through all of that information and explain that to you tonight while I sip on some Long Island iced tea, because that's what I plan to do. It is Friday. I'm going to try to keep it clean. Keyword try. I'm sure I won't be successful the more I drink. But wait till y'all hear this freaky deaky shit. Wait till I read you the affidavits. They are very much believable. I don't want to go into too much detail at this time, but I will say this. Asa Ellerup. Well, who the fuck is that man with ass? Is the wife of Rex Heuermann. And I came by to tell you in this live that Asa Ellerup is no Paula Rader. Well, who the fuck is Paula Rader, Madam Whipass? Paula Rader is the wife of the notorious serial killer from Wichita, Kansas, known as BTK. I'll explain more about it somewhere around the 9 o'clock hour. It will all come together for you like pieces of a puzzle. I will take the time to talk about how I have always said people from Long Island are very strange. Very strange. And I could never explain the strangeness to people when I tell them that, or when I have stated that. But it's one of those things you just gotta be there to get it yourself. A lot of stuff goes on out there in Long Island. And the further Long Island you go out, the stranger the people get. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What a case this is. What a trial it's going to be. When I tell you it's up and it's damn stuck with me, yes it is. I will be on this case every bit of the trial. I already envision myself taking days off just to stay home and watch this damn trial, because I don't want to miss none of it. I have been following this case from day one. I can tell you, I can point you to a message board that has dated times and dates when I, Madam Whip-Ass, which Madam Whip-Ass is not my screen name over there, so don't go try looking for me, because you ain't going to find me. I have stated in my posts over and over, I have screened them in all caps way back in 2011, that the serial killer lives in Massapequa. I went back and checked. I think I stated it about 15 times. I also screened and stated in my posts that the serial killer worked in Manhattan. Hey, how you know all that, Madam Whip-Ass? Let me tell you something. Sometimes you just know. You don't know how you know. You just know. I knew that he owned a firm. I kept thinking law firm. Law firm. But firm, just firm, kept coming to me. I added law to it. Rex Heuermann did not own a law firm, but he did own an architectural firm. How do you know that, Madam Whip-Ass? I don't know about how I knew he operated a firm. Can't tell you that. But I can tell you, I knew he lived in Massapequa, and I knew he worked in Manhattan from observing and studying and analyzing the cell phone things. I knew he was a person with money. One thing I was wrong about, I thought he was like rich, like a trust fund baby rich. And I surmised that because if he was mutilating individuals, then he had to have had a place to do it. I knew he was a married man. I knew he had children. I even guessed his age range. So I surmised that he had to have money because he had to have a place other than his home. I didn't think he did it in his home because he was married with children. And you know, dismembering somebody is such a messy job. And that's not something you can clean up lickety-split. Trust me, I know. Not that I ever dismembered anybody, but for those of you who are new to the channel, don't read into it, the wrong way. Please understand, I grew up in the funeral business. Okay? I have a good idea what it would take to dismember a body. Nothing more, nothing less. Anyway, so I thought he had enough money that he had other properties, another house, or a huge house with a basement, a specific area in the house that nobody goes to, or he has uh, stipulated to his family members no one should go to whatever sealed, closed area in the basement. But I knew he had to have had property where he could take the time to dismember an individual for disposal. So just keep that in mind. I'll try to remember to get back to that, and I probably will once I read this affidavit and break it down all for you and myself as well. Why? Because it's up and bitch, it's stuck. Hey, Curie, how you doing? Good to see you. Concrete, hey, hey. Yes, Juicy. Yes, cheers, cheers. But anyway, yeah, just stay tuned. I should be going home soon. In a few hours. Oh, Jesus Christ. Wish it could be right now, but it's not. And we're gonna get into this uh with a meat cleaver or some shit. We going deep. We're going deep. I don't care if there's nobody in the chat room. I'm getting into this. It ain't about you. It ain't about me. It's about the victims. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I got some preparing to do, actually. Because I need to make this plain and clear for you. And it's just amazing, how time and perseverance may not bring everything together as fast as we would like it to come together, but slowly and surely the pieces of the puzzle are coming together. And at some point, we will all be able to step back and see the full picture. And I'll go over this again, but let's just talk about Karen Vergara. Who is Karen Vergara? For the longest, Karen Vergara was known as Jane Doe. And we only found out who she was this past August. Karen Vergara was last seen February 14th, Valentine's Day, in 1996. I believe in April, her severed legs and feet washed up on Fire Island. Fire Island is a little island off of Long Island. I'd have to look at a map and see whether it's way on the South Shore or the North Shore. I think it's way south. So all these decades, years, from 1996 until 2011, who do these legs belong to? Surely these legs were attached to a body. Where's the rest of this person? Had no idea. Just legs from 1996 washed up on Fire Island. Well, it's not till 2011. Guess what? They find a skull all along the area of Gilgo Beach, which runs into beach. Gilgo Beach in Suffolk County. It's the same beach once it gets to Nassau County, it's called Jones Beach. So that whole coastline, all in the brush. When they discovered those other bodies, they discovered Karen Vergara's skull. But at the time, it's just a skull. They don't have a name. It wasn't until very recently. No. I think it was around those years, 2011, 2012, that the DNA from the skull and that was found in 2011 matched the damn legs that washed up on Fire Island in 1996. All they have of Karen Vergara are her legs and her skull. The woman came into this world with 2 arms and a torso and some thighs. They haven't found that yet. So, since 2011, 12, 13, somewhere around those years, they've only known that the skull and the legs go together. And it wasn't until maybe a year ago, or more than a year, maybe a year around this time, they did some more DNA, They found out they were able to put a name with the skull and the legs. They were no longer Jane Doe number 7. They belong to Karen Vergara. And we just found out her name this past August. Karen lived just a few blocks away from where Rex Heuermann worked. Just a few blocks. I'm talking about maybe 5 or 6 blocks, something like that, in Midtown. Apparently, Karen Vergara was a lady of the night. That's not quite accurate, is it? Because they work day or night, don't they? Anyway, she's one of those ladies. She was last seen Valentine's Day, 1996. This affidavit I'm going to read to you tonight will tie in Karen Vergara. Karen Vergara, if I'm not mistaken, I think she had a son. I think at the time she disappeared, she might have been like in her early 30s. Something like that. But it's a damn shame. And I think a lot of police officers who are in their 60s, late 50s now, some may be retired, some may be on the verge of retiring. They've been involved in a lot of freaky deaky stuff. And not just police officers, men of other higher prominent professions. I think there's a network going on out there. And I'll tell you why sometime in the 9 o'clock hour tonight. This is some real deep shit. Really deep. If Wall could talk. So yeah. So that's the preview of what's to come tonight involving Karen Vergara and some other things that's going to start to tie things together. And I know somebody should start talking. People are talking. That's how we got information about Karen Vergara that I'm going to present to you tonight. But when I say somebody needs to start talking, I'm talking about somebody who is in the no, who knows. Will that ever take place? It all remains to be seen. It all remains to be seen. Will Rex Heuermann come out and confess? Right now, I say no, he'll never do it. Although he's kind of similar, there's a lot of similarities between Rex Heuermann and BTK, aka Dennis Rader. The polarizing difference between the two is that BTK loves the attention. He wants the whole world to know what he has done. Matter of fact, if he could, he'll take you out to dinner and into a bar, and he'll tell you all about it over a couple of drinks. That's Dennis Rader, BTK for you. Because in his mind, it was all a fucking game, and he has the greatest handiwork, and you all should know how he did it and how he got it all done and went undetected for 30 years. And, he's good at his shit, and we all will be in awe and give him the utmost and praise for all the people he killed, stalked and killed. On the other hand, Rex Heuermann strikes me as an individual where he's just a cold-hearted son of a bitch. So is BTK. They both, neither one of them give a damn about giving closure to families. As far as just imagine if your child just went missing and been gone for 30 years and you just have no clue. I can imagine how every damn near waking moment of your day you're wondering what happened to my baby. The pain and suffering that a lot of these families have gone through. A never-ending nightmare. But individuals like Rex and BTK, they give a shit what your nightmare is. They don't even think about whatever fucking closure you might desire. That's them. But you might get closure from BTK, not because he cares about what your needs are and how you agonize over the disappearance and or the deletion of your loved one. You'll get your closure because he's too busy trying to get all the praise and the glory out of it. On the other hand, Rex Heuermann, if it's going to save his ass, he ain't going to tell you shit. Fuck you and your closure or whatever you need. I don't give a fuck. I ain't saying shit. I don't care about your pain. I don't care that you haven't talked to your daughter in 35 years. No trace. As long as I keep my mouth shut, there's a chance I can get out of this shit. So fuck you and your pain. That's Rex Heuermann. It doesn't matter if people plead with him via his lawyer or family members. Rex, please, give these families some closure. It's the least you can do. These families are hurting. They need to know. Tell them where their loved ones are so the loved ones can come home to them and they can give them a proper burial. Please, Rex. He'll zip his lips and sit there with his hands crossed his chest and won't say another fucking word. That's who I believe Rex Heuermann is. He's not looking for no glory and praise. It never even crossed his mind to sit down with a bunch of cops at a bar and tell them how he dismembered individuals and killed hookers all across the island and tell him all this over a couple of beers. Nope, that's not him. And if there is a sex ring of somewhat powerful men, if you will, he's not going to rat none of them out. But we will just have to stay tuned, and I will keep you all abreast of what is going on, what is happening, what is not happening, what has happened, what didn't happen in the past. All of that you're going to get from me. Why? Because honey is up and it is stuck. So listen, I got to go now. If things get more out in the open, you think people will start disappearing? Good question. But things like that only happen in the movies, I think. But then again, weird shit has been happening. Look, the police chief that was in charge back in 2010 when the bodies were first discovered, we don't even know how he made it to chief, because he had gotten caught with prostitutes. He was having relations with prostitutes in his squad car. And they were like, well done, good old boy. You have been promoted to chief. The chief back then, his name is James Burke, by the way. Somebody broke into his squad car in his trunk, and you know what they stole? A whole bunch of dildos, sex toys, porn tapes, all types of stuff out of the trunk of his squad car. You know what Chief James Burke did? He goes to the jail and he beats the shit out of the person who stole the porn stuff out of his squad car. And because of that, he got terminated and he had to do 4 years in jail. The police chief that was squelching and undermining any type of investigation or progress into these deceased women that were found all along Gilgo and Jones Beach. And it makes you wonder, it was the police chief and the DA. They kicked the FBI out of the investigation, all types of stuff. They only had one detective working on these serial killer murders. One detective. One detective who had other cases he had to work on as well. Oh, this shit gets real deep, y'all. And then, just this summer, I believe in August, early August, late July, guess what? This same police chief, I told you, he wasn't even a police chief. He got caught screwing a prostitute in his squad car. He gets a promotion to become chief. And I think at that time, he wasn't even a cop. I think he was like chief of detectives or something, right? Then I told you how somebody broke in his squad car and took all types of sex toys and porn tapes and all of that. He beat up the guy, got 4 years. Just told you that, right? He was able to retire after all of that, and he receives his pension, $140,000 a year. Go figure. But guess what happened to him this summer? There's an old nasty piece of park out there where people go cruising, the men's. And he got arrested because he approached the undercover cop and said, "Let me suck you off, buddy." And they said, "You screwy rabbit, you're arrested." This former police chief, a grown-ass man in his 60s, lurking around parks trying to suck off as many men as he can. I keep telling you, people out Long Island are very freaking strange. Now, I'm not saying that men frequent parks only on Long Island to suck off other men. But this is some weird shit. I'm sure it happens in other places. I know it does. But this guy, you did 4 years, your career was over, but you kept your pension. Got to keep your pension of $140,000 a year. You can't go someplace and chill. You can't just, I don't know, Craigslist or whatever and have a man come over to your house and be discreet. You got to go cruising around in a park, propositioning men to suck them off. Strange. Very strange. Darn, where was I? I was really on a roll. I forgot what I last said. Because I just sort of said something went wrong, tap in, retry. Anyway, I don't know what y'all last heard. Anybody last? What did I hear? What did you last hear me say? So I know where to pick up at. Yeah, he retired. Was able to retire after all of that and still collect his pension, $140,000 a year. And did you hear what just happened to him July or August? He's cruising around in some old nasty piece of park out there in Long Island. And he propositions what is an undercover male cop to suck him off. Because apparently that's what they do in this park. And he got arrested. So you got this police chief that kept suppressing evidence, suppressing the investigation concerning these bodies. That's clearly the work of a serial killer. Does he know Rex Heuermann? Does Rex Heuermann and this police chief, do they know the John in Oak Beach whom Shannan Gilbert went to service? And she was brought there from the city by her driver to Oak Beach. That was the first girl who right now has not been connected to all the remains found on Gilgo Beach. But because they were looking for her, that's how they stumbled upon some remains, and then the ball just started rolling, and that's how they found 11 sets of remains. But I'm going to read an affidavit, another one to you tonight, that's going to make the connection. A year before Shannan Gilbert went through that thing, and she's on the phone running, they're trying to kill me, when she went to see that John. There's a connection, according to this affidavit, between Rex Heuermann and this woman, Shannan Gilbert, a year or several months actually, before that whole thing happened. And then they searched for her for over a year. Thus, prior to finding her, they stumbled across these other remains, and then they eventually found her in the same area where she was running and on the phone with the cops. Now, they say that community in Oak Beach where she was, that is a high-ranking swingers community. Oh, I'm getting too deep, getting too much into what I got to tell you tonight, 9 o'clock. But yeah, I better shut up and end this. Oh, Mad Church Disease. I want to see you in the chat room tonight. Remind me of that, because what broke 2 days ago will connect that dot to. I'll tell you something else about those remains. When those remains were first discovered, don't ask me how I knew it. I just knew it. All they said was remains of a male was found. And instantly I got this vision that he was dressed in women's clothing. And when they came out with that tidbit of information that he was dressed and the remains were dressed in women's clothing, I almost hit the floor. I knew that too. I knew that man. And again, it made sense to me because all these remains were all female. And they just said one was a male. Well, I thought. It's the same serial killer with all these female remains except one is a male. Why is that? Why did he step out of his comfort zone of killing females and then he kills a male? What is that about? I said, I bet you that male was a cross-dresser. And the image just came right before my eyes. And sure enough, man, I missed my calling. And it wasn't my fault. If I could do it all over again, I promise you, I'd be working for the FBI, chasing serial killers all over the country. And the reason why I am not a retired FBI profiler who has chased and interviewed buku amounts of serial killers all over this country is because in my formative years, my teenage years, they weren't really talking about this stuff, you know. They were just setting up the behavioral science unit in Quantico, Virginia, and they were just coining in 1980. They just coined the term serial killer in 1980. So as I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that behavioral science unit was in its infancy. Criminal profiling, it was in its infancy. And therefore, I mean, John Douglas, who spearheaded the behavioral science unit, man, he had the fight to get respect for the work that they were doing during the early years. Maybe during the first 10 years even. They used to have them in a dank, dark part of the basement in the FBI building doing what they do. No respect. But leaders like John Douglas, you work with what you got. You don't sweat the small stuff because the work you're doing is more important than having a better office. And so you fly all over the country to various prisons and you prepare your 150, 200 questions and you study these fuckers and you hear their stories and their tales and you take the time to take care of yourself, that this shit doesn't melt down into your spirit. You got to be able to purge that shit out and keep on going, because you know that the work you're doing will help prevention of creating these monsters. And if you haven't heard me say it before, you're going to hear me say it now. And if you heard me say this before, you're going to hear it again. Don't teach children that there are no such things as monsters. That's a lie. And it's not a lie like trying to get them to believe in Santa Claus. Your children must understand that monsters do exist. And they look human like you and me. And sometimes they're handsome. And sometimes they're actually beautiful. All monsters don't look creepy. They act creepy, do creepy shit, but they don't necessarily look creepy. Understand it. All right. Let me go because I'm saying too much. Saying too much. Yes, it was an Asian man. I'm saying too much. I'll see you again tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Please hit the like button on your way out. And Mad Church Disease, you know I got much love for you. And it's good to see you. Catch you later. Peace. You too, Carrie. Love you too. Love all you niggas. Just love you to pieces. Well, excuse the pun. You know what I mean. Bye.